Mecha animes are always weird to me. They're like the staple of anime. Whenever anyone parodied anime when I was growing up as a kid, they would always parody mecha anime as like a key point of that. And there were some mecha anime in my life when I was growing up. Mainly Gundam Wing was on Toonami. I'd see that every now and then. Though the most prevalent Gundam show that I ever watched was actually Chibi Gundam, which it's Gundam, but they're chibi. I've never been huge into mecha stuff. It's not really a focus of mine. It's not something that I always needed. Witch from Mercury is the first series that really grabbed me and didn't let me go. And I want to talk about that because there's some things I need to get off my chest, especially with recent news here. I want to be clear on this video in particular. Typically my reviews are going to be something where you don't need to have watched the show, and I will talk about everything in a way that is completely spoiler free and allows you to get a perspective on what the show is, things, elements that it has that I like, gives you an idea of what you're getting into. That's not what I'm going to do with this review. This review is going to be more for people who've already seen it, because there's a lot of things I want to talk about that I think you need to have seen the anime in order to understand. So if you want a non-spoiler review, I'll give it to you right now. It's a really great show. It's a high school drama for the most part that is pretty similar thematically to Revolutionary Girl Utena. There is our main character, Soletta Mercury, who is a transfer student at Asperations School of Technology, which is a school for mobile suit pilots, mobile suit mechanics, and technicians, and people looking to get jobs on the corporate side. And it's this giant school of technology that's really prestigious, and it's for mobile suit Gundam pilots, or mobile suit pilots, not Gundam pilots. Very clear about that. Okay, so Soletta comes to the school and accidentally gets herself involved in the school's dueling system, because this school has duels. It's a duel school, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, except not exactly like that at all. Anyway, so when you have a disagreement with someone, you can challenge them to a duel, and the person who is the best at dueling in the school of duel, is the holder. Which here is Guel Jederick. So first episode, Soletta challenges him because he's mean to her friend Mayorine, and she wins because she has a super awesome mobile suit and is able to easily defeat him because she's the main character and she's good. It's the basic premise of most anime. Anyway, it becomes a problem though because they think that her mobile suit is actually a Gundam, and Gundams are illegal because Gundams cause data storms, which are like an illness that can cause a pilot to die. Right, you're overloaded by data, you're overloaded by information, your body can't take it, and you die. So it was made illegal, and you know, Gundams give you more control and more, you can do more with them. You can pilot them better and have more control over it than you can have with a mobile suit. So people immediately get concerned that her mobile suit, Ariel, which is what she calls it, is actually a Gundam, which, I mean, it is, but we're not gonna get to that yet. Anyway, point of this is she beats Guel and she becomes the holder of the school, which, unbeknownst to her, actually means that she is now betrothed to Mayorine, because whoever is the school's holder is supposed to marry Mayorine, as decreed by the head of the school, Mayorina's dad, who is an asshole. Anyway, so that's what makes it close to Utena. It's a woman-on-woman relationship, got some romance there. The anime has exceptional animation. It is funny, engaging, interesting. It's got, you know, it touches on topics of capitalism, of corporations and corporate greed, as well as discrimination and child soldiers. All these different forms of topics that aren't out of the norm for mecha anime. If you like Code Geass, then one of the creators of Code Geass is, you know, the head writer for Witch from Mercury. And a lot of these themes are pretty typical in Gundam that I've seen. But these kind of themes, again, are not very out of the norm for mecha anime of any kind. Code Geass is an example. 86 is another recent example that's pretty similar to this. I mean, even one that I always think of, Lion Barrels of Iron, has some similar themes. But Gurren Lagann is a great example of this. The mecha anime in all of its forms usually deals with topics like this. What makes Witch from Mercury different, though, is that our characters are really fun to be around. Suletta is a joy as a main character. She's a little ditzy, a little goofy, but she has a very strong spirit. She kind of reminds me of Emma from The Promised Neverland. She has this kind of optimism to her that is very engaging and very, it draws you in, you know? I mean, that's also true for characters like Luffy or Goku or, you know, Deku, all these different kinds of great shonen protagonists. But Suletta just feels really fun to be around. She's a really interesting character who has goals, ideas, and wants to do her best to be around her friends, you know? And she has some genuinely funny moments. There's some good comedy in here. There's other fun characters like the Earth House. There's a divide between Spatians and Earthians. Earthians are looked down upon because they live on Earth. Ew, gross. They don't live in the vastness of space. That divide can feel a little bit ridiculous at times, and we'll get into that in the more of the spoiler portion of this, but it is what it is. Then you have side characters like Goel, the person, you know, Suletta first beats, who I think is a fascinating character, who I love his arc in this. I'm not going to get into it, of course, but I love the story that he goes through. Nearly all main characters that come into the show have interesting arcs and motivations and ways that they drive the story forward that all feel like they work together and build off each other to build this coherent narrative. And you can just really feel that every character works in combination with another one. And while they do have these darker, heavier themes, it doesn't take away from these characters being allowed to have their moments, being allowed to experience the rough things that they experience and build themselves up and move forward and address certain weaknesses in their life, you know. And that's like basic character stuff. That's how shows should be, but this show achieves it very well, and it's a competent show all around. I really enjoyed watching it. Some great animation. It's a fun mecha anime. It's a woman-on-woman romance, which you don't see a lot of, and we're gonna get to, I think, why you don't see as much of it, because there's some stuff we need to talk about on that front. But that is going to end my spoiler-free section here. Now, basically, I'm just gonna say, if that sounds fun to you, it's a really fun, cool mecha anime it's got big sci-fi elements, a big sci-fi story that does not, I mean, there are some times so you feel like they're just throwing jargon around. It's a problem with anime. I feel like Witch from Mercury doesn't get into that as much. So while there is these bigger concepts that come in later parts of the anime, it never feels like it overpowers the actual narrative. And I feel like you're still able to get a really fun story. Overall, it's a really good time, and I love catching up with it. I don't know if it's my favorite anime of the year, but it's an anime I do highly recommend. But that ends the spoiler-free portion of this here, and now we go into spoilers. Before we begin the spoiler section, did you know that I have merch available in a new merch store that I just launched? That's right, here's the link right here. It's on Fourth Wall, really great site for getting some high quality shirts. So if you want to be cold-hearted like me, you want to show off your merch, then here you go. There's an opportunity to get some merch there. I think it's good. I like the things. On with the review. Okay, so I want to talk about a few things that I mentioned in the spoiler-free section real quick here. I mentioned how Witch from Mercury talks about capitalism and talks about different forms of discrimination against outgroups, right? And we're going to start with the capitalism discussion first. So I like that Witch from Mercury decided to take an approach that is very much focused on the power of conglomerates and the overwhelming force that they can have on society when these people are allowed to basically control everything. They are basically the government in this here. There is no real government entity that, for almost all of the show, it is basically just these companies around allowed to run wild and do whatever the fuck they want. Which I like that as a concept, and I felt like there was going to be more criticisms of capitalism in there, but of course, this is a Gundam product, right? A major corporation, a toy company, you know, making a product that, you know, is supposed to be an art form and does have a lot of artistic elements to it here. But at the end of the day, it is a part of selling Gunpla-Kits, right? This is a capitalistic show. It was never really going to have the anti-capitalist messages that I may have wanted. Its critique of capitalism is hollow, which is unfortunate because this writer, he is really good at dealing with these kind of topics. That's what's really great about Code Geass, is it's able to tackle different kinds of themes on imperialism and colonialism, you know, and the structures of power there. And it just felt that this was a lot more constrained and wasn't allowed to go into that topic nearly as much, even though there was ample opportunity for them to do it, right? There is a lot of sections of people being up in arms against, weapons manufacturing. And weapons manufacturing is something that they actually do take a pretty good stand on, being anti-weapons manufacturing. Myorine and Suletta's company, Gundam, is about making medical products, right? It's not about making any kind of weapon system or anything like that. But I always felt that this was always just, it never really got to the root of the issue. It's just making them nicer, right? That's where it more felt like, right? Corporations and capitalism has gone too far. We need to make it nicer, which is also, like, to be fair, that's also the criticism you get from a lot of stuff in America, from Hollywood, right? If you get stuff that feels anti-capitalist, most times it's just saying we should just make capitalism better and nicer, which is not an actual solution to it. But this just is what it is. Anyway, the other part is the discrimination side of Spatians versus Earthians. And I know this is a topic that comes up a lot in Gundam itself. I know it's a thing, especially in early Gundam, the levers of control that the people in space and the people on Earth use against each other, and how they discriminate against each other across multiple series. For me, it felt a bit forced here. I like the inclusion, and they did a good job of characters feeling it, characters having moments where you can tell the effect of being refugees or being in outgroups, being underprivileged, how that affects them and how that changes their mentality. I love those aspects of it. I think they did a really good job how it works with specific characters. But as an overall structure and actions that happen later in the series, I don't feel like it was fully fleshed out in a way that felt satisfying to me, right? The main thing that I want to talk about, and the main reason I still wanted to do this video, even though it's been a bit since Witch and Mercury ended, is that, my God, fucking Sunrise, fucking Gundam, what are they doing? So the end of Witch from Mercury has an epilogue, right? And in the epilogue, you see Myorine as the head of this corporation now. She's the big girl in charge. She's girl bossing around, and there's this robot character that's related to Suletta. It's Suletta's sister, right? And the robot calls Myorine sister-in-law, right? Oh, you're my sister-in-law. It shows all the characters after everything here. Everyone's dealing with life after the big, event at the end of the series, and then it comes to Suletta and Myorine meeting each other and going and hugging, and they're both smiling and together, like holding on to each other and wearing rings. They're both wearing rings, right? So that's what everyone saw, right? This epilogue is what everybody saw. These characters, clearly they're in love. Clearly they're married. If not legally, then I don't know how marriage laws work in space. According to Myorine, the idea that homosexual relationships not being accepted is backwater. So I'm assuming that they have, homosexual marriage. It's no, it should be, there's like no big deal. It's in universe said that it is not a big deal. You have these people, you have these characters that are clearly in love, seem like they're married. And then afterwards, in an interview, the Japanese voice actors for the characters, said that they were married, right? Said that they were in love and they're married. That interview in the print edition of the Gundam Ace magazine was left in completely saying that, right, in the print version of it. But the digital version of that interview, the digital article, was edited to remove the actress saying that they're married. And when people questioned why that was removed, they were given the explanation by the studio, basically, that we want people to leave up for interpretation what their relationship is. And I just, interpreting what? That obviously they didn't kiss because that no one kisses in anime. It's a thing, I guess. Kissing is slutty, how dare you. These characters who are clearly gay, clearly super gay for each other, are not allowed to kiss, not allowed to be stated out loud that they're married. I don't understand that. I don't even get why that's like a major thing. Anime has a long history of a whole bunch of characters who are LGBT in some sort of way. And the fact that they felt the need to come out and say, no, this isn't, maybe they're gay. That's up to you to decide. Maybe they're not gay. You know, who really knows if they're gay? What is gay, really? I mean, come on now. It's like, what are you doing? It's complete nonsense. Of course they're gay. Of course they're married. Like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? That's really what I wanted to talk about here. Just wanted to get a little rant in about that. Witch from Mercury is a good anime. I really enjoyed it. There are some things that I think leave it to be desired, you know? I mean, it's not going to, it does not match Code Geass's politics, right? And it doesn't have the same bite as I think it could have, right? I think it could be more hard on its messaging, and I feel like it wasn't, and the main conflict mostly came down to family dynamics and not really about as much about the exploitative systems that clearly exist in this world and are discussed but never really dismantled. But, you know, those are my personal criticisms here. I don't really judge the show too much on that because I really didn't expect that to happen. But it would have been cool if it did, but you know, whatever. So I highly recommend this anime. There are flaws with it here, a number of flaws, but you know what? That's how life goes. Anyway, thank you for sticking through this video. I hope you check out my last video on Oshi no Ko, which is also, if you like this video, you'll love that video. It's more spoiler free, and I could go into this whole discussion about the exploitative systems that Oshi no Ko talks about, more directly actually. Keep an eye out for my next video. I'm gonna try to make these videos quicker, you know, try to get as many videos as I can out, because I have so many things I do want to cover, so many anime that I'm waiting to talk on. And yeah, so be sure to subscribe, comment if you have anything to comment on, leave a like. All those things really help boost the video, and I really appreciate that. Other than that though, I hope you all have a great day, a great night, or whatever it is you're having, and stay rad.